Hello, everyone. Welcome, Liam's Lyceum. I'm your host, Liam, aka Himbar, and today I'm doing my weekly update for Liam's Leapings, number 106. Yes, for the 27th of October, 2024, where I just talk about the things I read mostly this week, a little bit of other things sometimes, but anyway, sorry about moving so much here to start. On the top of my stack is my book, but and I know I'm not Brian Lee Durfee over here, but I do have a novella out. It is a book, but it's a novella called Dreamer Awake. My camera quality is garbage right now. I'd like that to focus back up, but there we go. So Dreamer Awake by Liam Q.E. Hall. It's kind of I don't know how else to advertise. I'm not big into selling things, so but the one thing I did come up with is for movies at least is it's kind of like The Northman meets Ghost in the Shell. It's pretty fast paced, so as well. So if you like that revenge story, science fiction kind of fantasy, mostly fantasy feeling. Anyway, so but yeah, there's this. So Dreamer Awake. But as far as the reading goes this week, I finished Blood of Ambrose. I finished this on the Day of Might, which was Wednesday, which is a Sword and Sorcery holiday. Sorry. And I did a live stream for that day as well. Just joined by a couple guests. I'd like to do this every year. So, but Blood of Ambrose is I feel like whoever this, I don't know how to say this guy's last name, Angie and Ng. I don't know. I already say it. James. We're gonna call him James. James. Um, Definitely wanted to write Sword and Sorcery, it feels like. But this came out in like 2009. Sword and Sorcery is pretty much dead at that time. So I think he definitely threw in some things that fantasy uh, kind of had at the time, right? It kind of is epic because it talks about like the fate of a king and his kingdom in a sense, but it's really focused like Sword and Sorcery is. But it's Arthurian. It's Arthurian Sword and Sorcery. Uh, Not a favorite. There's definitely parts of it I really liked and other parts that really dragged. So, um, but I enjoyed it. I do want to read the other ones. I had this one for a couple years. I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't have copies of the other ones, so I don't know when I'll read them. But I did enjoy this. Nice to read more Sword and Sorcery stuff, especially contemporary Sword and Sorcery, because I've read a lot of the classics, especially the ones I really want to read. Not all of them. There's more I'll get to still. Finished that. I also finished Room to Ruin. This review also already came out. It's by Gregory Amato. You can go watch my review, but I enjoyed it. It is a sequel as well to a previous book called Bird and the Bear. So he just described it to me actually as like epic sword and sorcery. I feel like the pedant in me says that's not possible, but it makes sense. It kind of reads in the style of sword and sorcery, a humorous vein, by the way. It's humorous, but it is very much an epic story. But it only follows like one character and whatnot. So, and it's Norse Viking inspired, if it wasn't obvious. So, anyways, I did enjoy that. Looking forward to the third book, which is finale for the trilogy. I also finished two books that I don't have on me physically. One of them I can't find, and that is The High Crusade by Paul Anderson. I know I have it. I don't know where it is. And this is a silly story of, is it 13th century? Maybe it's 14th century. I can't remember off the top of my head. Uh, English people going on a crusade against some aliens as a spaceship lands kind of like outside the town. So that's very interesting. It's funny in that sense. It's lighthearted read. I enjoyed it. It might be my least favorite thing I've read by Anderson, but I generally enjoy the stuff I've read by him. I've read Cow Zero. It's the first thing I read. Then I read The Broken Sword. Then I've read Three Hearts, Three Lions, which is probably my favorite. So, and then this. So, anyways. I also read Babel 17 by Samuel R. Delaney. Second thing I've read by him. That's not true. I read a novella in the Big Book of Cyberpunk by him, and I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but I enjoyed that well enough. I wasn't a huge fan. I was much more of a fan of Babel 17. I really enjoyed Babel 17. It's a sci-fi book about language, kind of. It kind of makes it a big idea too. So old school, new age sci-fi. So those are the four books I finished. So let's see what else I got into. I'm reading another story in Fated and Serkamon. My daughters, I think, yeah, they put pen on my book, anyways. But I've been slowly reading this one. It's kind of thick, and they're all probably like novelettes, if I were to wager. But it's let's see, it's 550 pages. Okay, so and I'm on page 291. So it's kind of long. I'm like right around halfway, but very much enjoyable. This one so far is the story I'm reading is only been Serkamon, who's the troubadour, uh, and it's called The King's Choice, and it is about Louis marrying who, the daughter of the Count of Blois or Eleanor of Aquitaine. Who's he going to choose? If you know your history, you know who he chooses, obviously. But so stuff like that. It's fun. So it's interesting to read one with just Sarah Kamana. I don't know if Fate's going to show up later, but I very much enjoy this style of story here too. This historical adventure story, not fantasy at all. Um, I'm also reading Weird Tales of Modernity. Been really bad about it the past few days. My reading is kind of separated between the days I work reading and the days I don't work reading. This is definitely one of those days I don't work reading right here. So I still have about, well, an okay chunk of it left. I'm making good progress. I'm enjoying it. I'm in the Robert E. Howard section. So, and again, hopefully I'll have a video of it. I haven't taken very many notes though. So hopefully I'm feeling inspired when I finish it so I can make a video sans notes or with very few notes. Another book, again, I feel bad. I've read very little of this week. I had a very hectic weekend. My weekend's actually at the beginning of the week. It's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday for me. And very, very hectic. Like my car broke down, or my wife's car broke down. Water heater's been having problems and other more personal things. It's just a mess. And so I didn't read as much as this as I would have wanted because this is one thing I actually want to finish this week. But I'm officially like halfway through. So hopefully I'll find the finish. I'm enjoying it. That's one of the things I've explained before. How quick I get through things is kind of how I read it. So some things they might not even be favorites or super gripping, but just because of how I read it, I might get through it quicker. So, anyways, a couple things I'm also reading is The Ship of Fools by Sebastian Brandt, if I remember correctly. I think it's 15th century work. I'm enjoying it. Pretty short. It is pithy. I would say that. Also, I am reading Shadow Spawn by Andrew Offutt, which is a Thieves World book. I was told I looked up a chronological reading order you could find for Thieves World online, and this mentions things from books 4 and 6, but it was said that I could read this after book 3. So I don't really know what's going on there. I don't think it's a huge deal. I very much enjoyed the story. It definitely feels like a quirky sword and sorcery story. Like he's like purposely like messing with the genre. There's even at one point where he makes this joke about mighty thews. It's funny. But I'm enjoying it. I'm almost done with this one actually. And then I'm also done, or almost done rather, with The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. This one's okay so far. Not bad. I'll probably have more thoughts when I'm finished with it. We'll see how it ends. And then pretty much the last thing is The Steerswoman by Rosemary Kiernan, I think is that her name. Don't quote me on that. I'm not very far into this one either. This one was recommended to me by Ori, and it's interesting so far. Kind of a old school science fantasy. So from the 80s, I think. So, anyways, I'm enjoying it though. And then besides that, I read one short story this week, The Servants of Bit Yakin. Also has another name that I'm forgetting right now. It might be like the something of Gwalur, Jewels of Gwalur, Jaws of Gwalur, something like that. It's by Robert E. Howard, of course. This is in the final bind up for Conan, which I don't have physically. But yeah, it was not bad, not bad. I'm trying to finish up the Conan stuff, slowly but surely. So Anyways, and so I read that on the day of buying because it seemed appropriate. Another thing, let's see, that happened this week. I gave a little presentation for the Fellowship of Mythmakers, I think is what it's called, a little symposium group. I gave a little presentation on Tuesday on the topic of Havelock the Dane, mostly just looking at the Middle English in it, just reading some Middle English as a practice, as an exercise. People that attended have not read very much Middle English. Middle English is, if you want to read another language, if you want to get practice at reading another language and you're a native English speaker, or if you're just watching this video anyways, because you probably have good English skills, try Middle English. It's pretty easy. Like, it's an easy place to start. Makes you feel good, getting some of the stuff down, right? You get a pat on the back, and it is a different language. Technically, it's English. It doesn't sound the same. In some ways, it doesn't look the same either. It depends on what kind of Middle English you're reading, for that matter. But we read some of Havelock the Dane, which is the second oldest romance written in Middle English, oldest being King Horn, which I'd read previously. So, but this is a fun one. I enjoyed it. So, I even made him translate a sentence with me, several lines, like 10 lines or something. And that was fun. So I enjoyed doing that. But it's fun. Yeah, it's encouraging. I think Middle English is encouraging. One, because it's just fun to recite. For me, the meter and the rhymes normally decent, and especially for something like Chaucer, and the stories themselves are just often romantic and they're cool or they're fun and whatnot. So Havelock the Dane has a lot of good stuff in it, that I think a modern reader could enjoy as well. I think I heard someone mention that it would make a good like a good Hollywood movie, and I think it has pretty much all that stuff in there. So, but anyways, that's pretty much my week. I'm not sure what else. Let's see, probably other things I'm forgetting, but I hope you all have had a good week. And let me know what you've been reading. Let me know what I can do for you. If I can do anything for you. Anyways, Liam from Williams Lyceum. I will catch you next time.